Hello friends, welcome back to Daily Movie Recaps. A new movie recapped, every single day. Today, we will recap an American thriller film, Prisoners, released in 2013. Spoilers up ahead, so watch out. Enjoy the recap. The film opens with Keller Dover, and his son Ralph, hunting a deer. Ralph pulls the trigger, while Keller says a prayer. After that, they both drive back to their home and on the way, Keller tells Ralph to be always ready for everything that comes in his life, to which he says yes. Later Ralph asks Keller to buy a car for him and Keller, because of his financial problems. Keller says no. Ralph wonders why they don't rent out the grandfather's old apartment. Keller says it is in too poor condition, and he needs so much money to repair it before giving it for rent. Keller, his wife Grace, and their kids Anna and Ralph, go to Birch's house, with a piece of meat they hunted to celebrate Thanksgiving dinner. While the adults cook, the kids go out, after asking permission from their parents. Anna Dover jumps on the old RV parked by the curb. Realizing someone is inside, they return to the Birch house. After dinner, the younger daughters go back to Keller's house to get Anna's safety whistle. She is supposed to carry at all times. Sometime later Keller realizes the girls haven't returned. He checks with Ralph and Eliza Birch, and understands they hadn't escorted the two young ones. Keller gets tense, and searches everywhere for the girls, along with Ralph and Franklin Birch, but finds nothing. Ralph informs them about the missing RV they saw earlier across the street. Without wasting any time, Keller dials 911 and informs them about the missing daughters. After a police hunt, the white RV is found parked outside a gas station, next to a wooded area. When Detective Loki, who leads the case, goes to confront the RV's driver Alex, he panics, tries to speed away, but crashes into the trees. Alex is then taken in for questioning, but it is found that he has the IQ of a 10-year-old, and rarely speaks. Loki then visits Alex's aunt, Holly Jones, who raised him with his uncle, after his parents died when he was 6. Loki hears from her that Alex spends most nights sleeping in the RV alone. At the police station, after examining the RV, they don't find any evidence to doubt Alex for the incident. And a boy with a 10-year-old IQ could never do such a thing. Meanwhile, Keller, Franklin, and some volunteers search the woods, calling for the girls. Loki comes to the Birch house, and Nancy Birch gives him some better photos of their daughter. At the Dovers, Loki tells Grace they passed the lie detector tests, and vows to find the girl. Then Keller meets Loki, and he is sure that it's Alex who took their daughters. Loki tells Keller about the weak evidence against Alex, and tries to calm him down. As the police are unable to find evidence against Alex, the captain decides to release him. Loki requests to hold him for 2 more days, but captain doesn't agree. While Keller and others continue searching in the woods, Grace informs Keller that Alex is being released, and he attacks him in the police parking lot. Alex says, "They didn't cry until I left them," while they both are on the ground. Captain lets Keller off with a warning, and sends him home after a brief talk with Loki. At the Jones house, Loki interviews Alex and Holly again about the parking lot incident. Not finding anything suspicious, Loki then leaves the house, after seeing an old car in front of the house. That night, Keller kidnaps Alex at gunpoint, and imprisons him in his father's old abandoned apartment. The next morning, he brings Franklin to the house, and shows him Alex. Franklin is horrified, but to get his daughter back, Franklin joins Keller in torturing Alex. Back in the police station, Loki digs up past unsolved missing children's cases. He comes across a boy named Barry Milland, who went missing 26 years ago at the age of 6. He speaks with the mother, and she shows Loki a VHS tape of the boy just before his abduction. Keller on the other hand repeatedly beats Alex for information. During a candlelight vigil for the missing girls, Loki notices a man acting suspicious, but loses him in a chase. That evening Birch watches some news on TV, about the man whom the police suspect to be the kidnapper, and he tells Keller about this. Later, Loki watches the video of Alex's interview. He gets a tip over the phone, and a discount store clerk recognizes the man they are looking for, and states that he comes in from time to buy children's clothing. She also promises to contact Loki if he comes to the store again. Franklin is overcome with guilt, and tells his wife Nancy what they have done with Alex, and brings her to see Keller. Keller then takes her to the apartment, where Alex is brutally beaten and kept. Nancy unties Alex, and tries to talk to him nicely, but he attempts to escape. Keller then grabs him, and ties him again. Keller then builds a wall using plywood to stop Alex from trying to escape again. Later, Keller brings the Birches back to the apartment, and shows them what he has made. After seeing what he has done with Alex, Franklin asks him to stop. Keller leaves the place, saying Franklin can release him if he wants. Franklin steps forward to do it, but stops when Nancy tells him to think of Joy. Meanwhile, the Birches' teen daughter Eliza is taking a bath, and a strange man walks silently into their house. Later, the same hooded man enters Dover's house. Finding out the break-in, Grace reports that to the police. Loki arrives, and Grace shows him the basement, Keller's well-organized workshop. Loki notices a bag of lye, and asks Grace where Keller is. She tells him what she knows, that he is out looking for their daughter. Loki then follows Keller, and sees him coming back from the apartment, and going to a nearby liquor store instead. Loki wonders what he was doing in that area. After seeing Loki, Keller approaches with a bottle, and asks why he is being followed. They both have arguments on how serious the police are about their daughter's case. Loki then notices some old news of a suicide, which occurred at 234 Campobello, the same location, where he saw Keller the previous day. The next day, Keller continues torturing Alex with freezing water from the showerhead. Alex tries to talk, but Keller just wants to hear where the girls are. A car comes and stops at the front. Keller soon finds out that Loki is getting inside the building. Keller then pretends to be drunk, and asleep on the floor. Loki wakes him up, and Keller gives him a short tour of the building, and then Loki's cell phone rings with the store clerk informing the intruder has been spotted. He leaves quickly, and uses the license plate number to find the intruder's house. Loki confronts the intruder, Taylor, at his home, notices he is strange, and later forcibly handcuffs him. While searching all around the house, Loki finds some locked boxes filled with bloody children's clothing, venomous snakes, and maze books. At the police station, both the Kellers and Birches identify clothing belonging to their children, and Taylor confesses to killing them. Loki watches Taylor for a while, then enters and loses control. He beats Taylor during questioning, and other cops rush in to stop Loki. Taylor somehow manages to grab one of the officer's guns from his belt, and commits suicide. Back at the apartment prison, Keller is drinking, as Alex finally talks, and mentions something about finding the girls in a maze. Keller goes to Alex's home to apologize to Holly, for attacking Alex at the police station when he was released. Holly understands him, and invites him inside. They have a pleasant conversation about Holly's son who died of cancer, and about her husband, who kept snakes. While speaking, a newspaper headline grabs Keller's attention. He grabs the newspaper and reads about the suicide of Taylor. At the police station, the captain tries to tell Loki to get over it, and advises him to find a girlfriend. Loki goes to his desk, and notices a picture of a maze similar to the one Taylor drew before killing himself. Back at Taylor's house, another cop reveals the blood on the children's clothes is found to be pig's blood. So, Taylor is now felt to be a fake killer, copying a book, titled The Invisible Man. At first, Loki is confused, how Taylor had the missing girl's clothes. But he then remembers the break-in Grace reported a few days back. Hence, he goes to Dover's house to check for some answers, and he finds a sock in the bushes under the window. Meanwhile, Joy Birch has been found wandering, drugged, and is hospitalized. Keller tries to question the young girl if she knows about Anna. In her drugged state, Joy rambles that Keller was there, giving the people around her a doubt that Keller is somehow involved in all this. Keller understands the place where Joy saw him, and rushes there. Loki thinks he is running from all this, and hence tries to catch him. Keller goes to Holly's home, with a tool belt, and offers to do some penance for his behavior. Loki loses Keller, but heads towards Keller's apartment building, and discovers the imprisoned Alex, and saves him. Meanwhile, at Holly's house, she holds Keller at gunpoint, and forces him to put on handcuffs, and consume the same sedative used to drug Anna and Joy. At gunpoint, she directs him to an old car outside. She reveals that she and her husband had been religious people, like Keller, until their son died of cancer at a young age. Holly and her husband decided to make war on God, by making children disappear without a trace, to turn their parents into demons, like what Keller had become. The old car had been covering a pit. Holly puts him in and shoots him in the leg. Then closes the lid and parks the car again over the lid. The captain tells Loki to go to Holly's house, and let her know about Alex. Loki reaches the house, and as he enters the house, he sees an old photo of Holly's husband wearing a maze locket. He then moves upstairs, and finds Holly injecting Anna with a drug, and Loki demands her to stop what she is doing. Holly turns back, shoots him, and he does the same, resulting in Holly's death. Wounded, bloody Loki takes the girl to the hospital. The next morning, at the hospital, Loki reads a newspaper and the headline says Barry Milland is Alex Jones, and has been reunited with his family. Grace comes in, and shows Anna to Loki. After everyone leaves, Grace says Keller still hasn't contacted her, and also tells him that her husband did all that for finding Anna. At night, in Holly's house, the CSI techs say they have found some dead snakes, and since the ground is frozen, they stop the digging process for some days. Loki stays behind for a while, and hears a whistle from somewhere nearby. Please leave a like or comment to let us know which movie you would like to watch next. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. This way you'll never miss any movie recap again. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.